Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this regularly scheduled Waterville Planning Board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. We start with approval of the minutes from the February 27th meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, Tom and David?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Okay, great. All those in favor?
I'll abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Abstain.
Thank you.
Item number 2, disclosure of conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of any of the votes that they plan to take tonight? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Number 3, Tractor Supply Company is requesting revisions to a previously approved plan for 10 JFK Plaza.
Hi, I'm Dwight McKinney. I'm the construction manager for Tractor Supply. We are going to put a garden center in our existing fenced outdoor display area. This will consist of a metal pergola type structure with a gable on the front that has a sign on it that says garden center. It's merely a shade structure. It's not an actual building with a roof. I do have some pictures that I can pull up. This is the site plan though for the store.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question. I saw on the site plan that they had kennels listed in that outdoor enclosed area.
Yes, we sell kennels.
Kennels, they're empty kennels, they don't have animals in them?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, we want you to buy them.
Okay.
And put animals, huh?
Yeah, put your animals in them. The only animals we sell are chickens,
I was gonna say, you have chicks though.
baby chicks, lots of them.
Any other questions?
Did you want to see
Yeah,
the
I do.
structure is? Okay. So that's the front. And you can see it's wide open. That's from the back. There's a cloth that you can pull back and forth across there. You can see the cloth there. And that cloth won't hold any snow or anything. Water drips through it. It's merely for shade on hot days.
Okay.
Below that, you'll have racks with plants in them.
And so this will be, if you're looking at Tractor Supply to the right?
So this is the building right here where it says tractor. This little white area is where that structure will actually be.
Okay.
And this gray area here is the existing fenced outdoor display area.
Okay. Great.
I'm just going to assume this is, to prevent the plants from burning and in
Pretty
the sun
much. I
and
think
stuff like that.
mostly for, those of us who don't like to stand out in the sun a lot.
Yeah.
You shop in a little bit of shade, it's nicer. I think the plants will probably handle it up here.
Yeah.
There will be sections of plants that will not even be in the shaded structure. They'll be out behind it.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Okay, hearing none, we can move on to the findings and facts form.
Do you need me to, for that?
Yep, so
Okay.
I'll read the, the number, and then you tell us if it's true or false. So number 1, the development will not result in undue water or air pollution on or off the site.
It will not.
Okay, that's true. Number 2, sufficient water available for the reasonable foreseeable needs of development.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 3, will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or reduction in the capacity of the land to hold water.
No, it's already paved surface.
Number 4, the development will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion.
No, it will not.
Number 5, the development will provide for adequate solid waste disposal. assuming you don't
Yes.
have any.
No, it doesn't. That won't change from what we currently have.
Yep. Number 6, the development will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality to dispose of sewage.
No,
Number 7, the development will not have undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area.
hopefully we'll improve it a little bit.
Number 8, the development is in conformance with zoning.
Yes,
Number 9, the developer has the adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the conditions that are attached are from the fire department and then water and sewer. Do you have any questions about those?
No, we do not.
Okay. Is it hooking up to water, Ann? Why would they need a water?
I
We
was
will
gonna-
have some garden hoses for watering the plants.
Oh, so it's an increase of their water supply?
So the reason to have the letters from the Water and Sewer District is just to make sure there are no underground utilities that we're not aware of. So
Okay.
they're signing off, and that protects us.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Any questions? Any further questions? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to accept the findings and facts.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for your help with the technology.
Oh, do they need to sign that so I can take a copy?
Yeah.
Oh, yep, we can do that really quick.
So you need to sign in black ink, please.
I'm gonna pull my,
All right, awesome.
my cheeky little.
Okay. Arbor Technologies is requesting an informal pre-application review for a solar farm at 99 Webb Road. Are you going to talk about it, Leo, or?
I love to talk.
Oh, I know you do. The mic is yours.
What would you like to know?
Do we have a,
They're in Zoom,
Okay.
and they know everything. I'm just
okay.
a peon. I don't know anything.
Do we want to let somebody maybe share their screen with the plans and stuff?
That would be very nice.
Scott,
Are they-
Scott's
Scott?
one, yeah. I can entertain you in the meantime.
How do we go ahead and, how do I get to share?
Have we enabled sharing?
If he hits the cap, it'll be fun.
Okay, I can go ahead and do that? It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Good evening, everyone, by the way. I'm Scott Temple.
Where are you joining us from tonight, Scott?
I am in snowy Minnesota right
Oh,
now.
wow.
I have a son in Minnesota. Where in Minnesota?
I'm in Lakeville, just south of the Twin Cities.
Nice.
Are we seeing the site plan?
Yes.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Just in general, I've been talking with Ann about this a little bit. This is a proposal for, I think, for 725 kilowatt community solar garden. So these solar gardens are hooked into the grid. They're subscription based for local people to sign up and save on their energy bills. The power is connected directly to the grid, so you don't have to be next door to it to plug into it. The parcel here is fairly long and skinny, and Leo wanted to put the array up at the north end and connect through an access road over to Airport Road. Now, it's our understanding that there's a lot of wetlands in this piece of property that at one point Airport Road was intended to connect around to Mitchell, and that's no longer the case. And we are wondering if we can get an easement to connect to the stub of Airport Road for our access to this. The solar gardens don't really have any traffic beyond when we build it, and that's typically just dropping off the materials. Otherwise, it's some work trucks, utility trucks, things like that. So it's not a lot of traffic. We just use a gravel access drive. Let's see. Property's fully fenced. We wouldn't be clearing any trees. We'll leave buffers all the way around it. Really be pretty well hidden from view. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm wondering if there's any questions from anyone. I don't know how familiar you are with these types of projects.
So we might have a lot of questions because we just revised our solar ordinance, and this is the first project to go through that new ordinance. So if we have extra questions, that might be why. Is the road going to just be a dirt, access road, Leo, like a driveway kind of thing?
It'll have to be to city
Yep.
specs. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, it's just it's a gravel access road. It's improved for truck traffic, but doesn't have a paved surface.
Okay.
Scott, does this road have any culverts or any water flowing under it or around it?
At this point, we just have a sketch. We haven't done any engineering on it.
Okay.
We will do a full, research of the property, the wetlands, any water flowage, anything like that. culverts needed, we'll put it in. At this point, it's really just a sketch. The property does need to be rezoned to the airport industrial in order to move this project forward. And it was my understanding you wanted to learn more about it before you considered that rezoning.
Scott, have you spoken, to the city manager or anybody from the city about getting the assigned easement for that access road?
We have, myself and Leo, I believe, have talked with the planner. I believe Leo's talked with the city manager a little bit. There's not been any formal discussion. We don't have it, the easement mapped out or anything yet. It would just be in theory.
Sam?
Yeah.
Initially, I had asked the developer to request rezoning to airport industrial because that allows solar farms, and there's several airport and parcels zoned airport industrial in the general vicinity. But once we started working with this, this new ordinance, it seemed to me it would be more reasonable to rezone to solar farm district because that ordinance says that if you don't construct the solar farm within a certain period of time, then the zoning reverts back to the current zoning. So that's what I would recommend that you.
Would you be comfortable with that,
yeah,
Leo? It still would allow, it would just, if something falls through
Right.
and it doesn't pass, DEP or something, then it would revert back and
Yeah.
you could sell it as a
I did-
residential or.
I did have a couple meetings with the city manager and the mayor. And after the land swap deal where the gentleman that wanted to do the mulch operation couldn't, and we did some land swap, that's when, these are also parcels I had looked at in the past that were now deemed by the DEP too wet to build on. And so I've met a couple times on the phone with this mulch operation because they need product and
Right.
I have a lot of product. And so we started talking about this. This is over a year ago. It seemed very viable to increase the value of my property for me and other people's. And since the city has now been deemed, we can't sell this to develop, to ask for an easement through it so that I can develop mine more so and make it more valuable, like I said, to other people. That obviously has to go in front of the city council, and there's some engineering stuff that has to happen. But this road that we're talking about is now been deemed unbuildable. It's a lot of there's a lot of streams and stuff like that.
If you can't get the road through there because it's too wet, is there alternative routes
I don't
that you
think
might
it's
be
too
able to?
wet, but I'm sure I'm
Okay.
sure there's a slim chance, and Scott knows more, these guys know more about that than I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is, I just own the land.
Yeah.
Leo, I think to qualify that, you're talking about extending Airport Road through there. That's where it was found to be wetlands and not feasible.
Yeah.
You're not talking about our access drive.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Different areas.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, talking about the actual street that was planned.
Yeah.
And that was, like you said, that was deemed infeasible because there's a lot of wetlands in there, so you can't really develop the lot. So why would a developer purchase that lot to develop it when they can't develop it in the wetlands? So it really made the whole street project unviable.
Correct.
Great.
Scott, I have a follow-up. You have the power line with poles running parallel to the road to connect up to Airport Road. That's what it showed in the diagram. Is that correct? Okay. Where will the power generated by this solar farm, where will it connect to the grid? Is there going to be a substation, or where is it going to connect?
We connect onto the three-phase distribution lines, and those lines are up on Airport Road. That's the other reason that we want to go that way. We connect right into the grid. There's a series of power poles at the end of our road, at the end of our project that are there's typically three that are owned by the utility, and then one owned by us, and that has the switchgear, the reclosers, the different technology necessary to connect our project into the grid. The transformer would be ours, then we trench all of our stuff underground. It would go above ground onto those poles out to the road where it would eventually connect into that three-phase line.
Right. How long is this access road? Like, how many feet are we talking about?
We had estimated at around 600 feet.
Okay. And the power service and the poles, is that something you would self-perform, you would install, or is that a CMP? Is that pending a CMP installation?
We would most likely install the poles along the road. Their gear most likely would stop just outside of the paved area of Airport Road. I can put that back up. Maybe that'll help. Going back here, so this area up here is where the most man meter recloser and the go, and those are for the utility, these poles. Then we have our meter and recloser here, and then we would build the poles going back into the array. Everything in here is all underground. Yeah. Be able to see the cursor? Do I need to make it bigger?
Nope, we can see.
We can see it.
If for any reason that the city did not grant that easement, is there any alternative way to connect these panels to the grid? I saw power lines running through that property. Is there any alternatives?
Well, I don't know if there's any viable alternatives. The issue is that the three-phase line is up on Airport Road. That's the three-phase distribution that's, was evidently installed to service, airport, business park, industrial type areas there. And we can't move that. And it gets really expensive to create a lot of new three-phase distribution line. So when we develop these solar gardens, they have a certain set of criteria that has to be met. It has to be within a mile of the substation, within about a quarter mile of the existing three-phase line. We have to be out of the wetlands. We have to have the proper zoning. We have to have, obviously, a willing landowner. And there has to be capacity in the system from the utility. So all of those criteria need to be met before we can site these. So it's quite difficult to find the exact spots that can do that. A lot of people worry about these things just getting plugged in everywhere, covering the whole town, whatnot. It's really not the case because it's very site specific as to what's able to be built and the capacity of the system to hold it. But at this point, there is capacity on the system for us to hook up if we get in and get it registered.
And a follow-up to that, the soil here, I assume it's rocky loam. There was a hayfield on a map, and it was also some sandpiper habitat. Does that ground need to be improved at all to set the fixed panel arrays? Does it need gravel or a base or anything to just install that solar farm?
The technology we would be using is called a single axis tracker. So they're lined up north to south. They tilt east to west to follow the sun. They're put in on pilings. So you're right, there is a lot of rocky soil in there. So we pre-drill a piling hole, backfill it with the appropriate fill mix, and then put the steel pilings into the ground that way. And all the racking and everything is above the ground. about 15 feet tall, maybe when they're at full tilt. But they're pretty low to the ground, and the only thing that's touching is those support poles, the pilings.
So we know we're not putting anything on wetland, is that correct? Because I see on the map that there's like intermittent streams there, and intermittent streams usually mean that, you know, the water table isn't too far below the surface.
Correct. We have to avoid those wherever possible, both for insurance reasons and for the Department of, the Environmental Department. Where we would cross any of those intermittent streams, that's where we could potentially need to have a culvert. We're not allowed to change the flow of the surface water. The array we have designed right now is designed to stay away from those areas. We definitely want to do that. What will happen is we'll do a full PNR survey to map out all the wetlands. When there's trees and stuff in there, you need to get in there on foot and map it out more precisely than you can do with the wetlands maps and the aerials and things like that. So we have a team go in there and delineate exactly where those wetlands are and what is needed to avoid and or cross them. And then we'll develop a plan around that. We'll do geotech testing for all the soils to make sure that they'll hold the pilings. We'll have a stormwater management plan. We'll have an erosion control plan, and the road and all those connections are all engineered. We have our own engineers in-house that are very good at designing these and minimizing the impact.
Have you both read the new ordinance since it was passed? Any concerns with any of it? No?
I did not have any concerns.
I think the biggest change was the buffer because of what's happened on the web road already and around the state.
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of other
Yeah.
things like identifying the vernal pools and
Yeah,
not using any pesticides.
That's all standard for what they already do. But
Yeah.
we're surrounded my whole property, and especially this area, is surrounded by 60 to 100-foot pine trees, a 60 to 100-foot buffer on all three sides.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks like the area where the panels would be going is mostly cleared
It's all field.
now, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, driving on the highway recently, coming back from Augusta, I tried to see into there and I couldn't.
Yeah, the highway's high, the trees are higher.
Yeah.
And the land slopes down.
Yep.
I almost feel like the DOT or whenever they built the interstate, there's a very beefy buffer of soil, large and high.
Yeah.
It seems intentional.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions for Leo? Okay, well, I guess we can just move on to the zoning part. So we'll just entertain a motion, because we don't take a vote on the preliminary review, so we could just entertain a motion for the zoning request.
I'd like to make an amendment, a motion for an amendment. I'd like to make the zoning request contingent on a signed and executed easement granted by the city for the access road for this property. Is that?
I almost feel like that makes it a contract, so I'm not sure that we can do this.
Okay.
If he doesn't get the easement, I believe that the zoning's just going to revert
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, it seems redundant.
Yeah.
Withdraw.
Okay, so if we're going by the maps, and we did say in our solar farm siting that if it is land that contains significant wildlife, rare, threatened, endangered species, then that's not suitable. And I don't know what's there. I do know that on this map, if I'm trying to sketch things out, and it's difficult because there's not an overlay exactly with your property.
I know what's there, I'll tell you.
Well, right, so it says here that that habitat is there. And so I don't know that by the rule of this ordinance, that would disqualify the property.
If you had 50 acres of non-paved surface anywhere in the state, it's gonna have wildlife. Like, if it's not a parking lot, it's fields and woods. So, just like any solar array that's installed in any field or any area, you're gonna have birds and mice and
Right, but certain birds and wildlife have certain protections and actually have certain land cover types that are different than others.
My
So-
land is surrounded by Oakland built a solar farm bigger than this one, and Waterville put one on the airport property bigger than mine that we're proposing. And I'm assuming that's in a roughly 15 square acre grid, if you put mine in the middle of those two. I don't think I have any special birds or special wildlife in my area that those two don't have.
Are you a birder, Leo?
I actually am. I spent 4 years at Unity College studying
Okay.
forestry, and I can probably name more birds than most people.
If I can add in again, we do the PNR Protected National Resource Survey, and that's a requirement from MDEP. So we have to have all that mapped. We have to do a professional study of any wildlife, any impact, deer wintering areas. All of that is all considered according to the state rules.
Okay.
We'll have a big report on that we would include with the application.
Okay. I mean, I'm of two minds about this because frankly, converting the land from industrial to solar is far more conservation friendly. So that's half, but then the other half is we just made this new ordinance and we shouldn't be running afoul of it so soon. We just wrote these rules. And so if it's saying that that land that is habitat for or has significant wildlife with rare, threatened, endangered, et cetera, is disqualified, then we need to follow the ordinance.
But we haven't done the surveys that he's talking about to know
Sure.
that it is.
Right, sounds like we don't
talk-
have enough information at
Right,
this time.
right. Yeah, we're all just, I mean, quite honestly, April, and I did the plowing like everybody did last week or early this week. You know what's running around in my driveway right now? Sandpipers.
Okay.
They're everywhere. I mean, if you just spend 20 minutes, like one of the best analogies I can tell people is, I'm 55. I spent 40 years in the woods, cutting trees, 40 years. And it was 18 years ago that I learned something. It was pretty cool to see, and I'm like, you just got to stop and pay attention. Pine trees exfoliate water in their respiration process. And when the droplets of water leave, it's part of the transport evaporation process, that how trees suck water up and oxygen up. They have to expel it or they would explode. When that water leaves the needles in pine trees, it carries with it petroleum. And you wouldn't know this unless you...
Petroleum, but.
What's
okay. Yeah, okay, continue.
So it hits the water, and you can see it, like when gas hits the water, and you can corral it. It's actual petroleum. And it's a very, very cool thing. Just all I'm saying is when you go out and you pay attention, you see some cool stuff, like super cool stuff. So there's wildlife in every part of Waterville. You can drive down here and see sandpipers in this area down here. They're everywhere. But
I mean, so I'm looking at the map and I think I see like the blob that you're talking, this area,
Yeah.
the orange. And I don't think that where he's proposing development even falls within the blob.
Okay,
in
well,
that.
that's,
have
anyway,
50 it's 50 acres.
they'll do
They have to
the
do
survey,
this,
because when
yeah.
I did it and I referenced it to various features, it does look like a particular lobe does go into the property.
Okay.
Like I said,
Could I ask-
if I'm looking at this property and thinking, what is the safest thing that it can be, if I'm interested in conservation, taking it out of the industrial zone is a pretty good solution. And the Scientific American just released a article about how solar farms can have really great habitat for wildlife. So, I mean, I see the benefit in doing that. I'm really just stuck a little bit with like, yeah, we do need to protect endangered species, and if this is a protected bird, then we need to protect the bird, regardless of whether you feel that you've seen a lot of it around.
I agree. Well, but I'm not going to do a study. Like, you're going to get a study.
So I think
Right.
that comes into play more on the final plan review, right? And that's why they now have to submit us like a species study. Like, that wasn't part of the final application review before, really, either.
Okay, so then
So-
we go through with a rezone, and then they do all the work? That's how this is gonna go? That sounds good.
Well, they're still gonna have to come back to us for a final plan review with all of the application studies and like an actual easement from the city and a proposed road that meets code, and they're gonna have to get all of the letters from the fire department and everything else, just like anybody else does for final plan review, and go through the findings and facts and before he can get it. And I think what Ann was saying is if we rezone and something falls through and he can't build it because they find a vernal pool in the middle of it, or they find, a species or something, or it's too wet or can't get the easement, then the zoning would just revert back to its previous zoning anyways.
Okay.
So that's sort of the default there.
You don't want to start spending money on these studies until
They're
you
not
know you
going
can
to,
be
so
zoned
it'll
for
be
it,
zoned.
right?
Yeah.
Right,
So
exactly.
you can't put the cart before the horse. That's what we're saying.
If could I add a little more to that too?
Yeah.
Like I said, we do the full environmental studies as part of our development process, and your regulations basically just mirror what the state already requires. So we're quite good at doing that. As far as the actual array, we use a wildlife-friendly fencing system that allows critters to get in and out of it. And then we also plant a good native pollinator mix underneath the array. So this is all revegetated. The soil regenerates over the time period that the solar array is there, and it provides a nice habitat. Like was previously stated, that's definitely true, and we intentionally plant that.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion on the table?
Make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay.
I'm sorry, David, you seconded?
Yep.
Thank you,
And Matt made the motion.
thank you.
All those in favor?
It's unanimous?
Unanimous. Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?